Hello, I'm Nora, and welcome back to Novels with Nora. Today is Saturday, November 29th, which means there are 2 days left in November, and I have yet to complete November's Buzzwordathon prompts. So that is what we're going to be doing in these next 2 days. So getting right into it. The cover prompt for November is food and drink on the cover, and the title prompt is never in the title. And I already have both of my books picked out, so I just need to actually read them to be able to complete these prompts in the next 2 days to continue on with my streak of completing both prompts for every month for the whole year. So for the title prompt, never in the title, I do have this one picked out, and this one's going to be kind of fun and different for me. My semester is finally winding down. I have finally completed my huge reading assignment. I want something fun and kind of goofy and just a light-hearted fun time, and I have found the perfect romance audiobook to read for this prompt, and that is Never Fall for a Dragon by Lola Glass. And I am so excited for this. The only thing I know about is that it's like a dragon and human romance. I think they're stuck in a cave together. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm ready to have a fun time. I've been really into coloring on my iPad, and so I'm really looking forward to reading or listening to the audiobook of this and doing my little coloring. So I'm really excited for that. And then for the cover prompt, it's food and drink on the cover. And this one I was kind of stumped on because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I had a few items on my shelves. So I was looking between Big Swiss, Ripe, and Woman Eating, because for some reason I thought that Big Swiss had cheese on the cover just because of the title. And when I looked, I realized it didn't actually. So then I was left with my two choices of Ripe and Woman Eating. And if you have seen my vampire reading vlog, you know I talked about this and was going to include this in a second installment in my vampire reading series, but I'm glad that I haven't, because in reading the prompt and reading some reviews on it, it's not so much about her being a vampire, it's about her finding herself, I think. And I have already started this one, so I do know that's the case. So well, you already know what I picked, but it was between Woman Eating and Ripe, and I could not choose because Ripe, it's a pomegranate. The whole cover is pomegranate, and the way the illustrator did these pomegranate pearls, as I've been calling them, are they seeds? I think they just look so juicy and appetizing, so I was really drawn to this. But then Woman Eating also has these apples and other fruits here on the cover. So I had my brother pick between these two, and he ended up picking Woman Eating, and I have already started this because I wanted to just sit down and read the first chapter. And I ended up getting 50% into it because it flew by. I'm listening to the audiobook of this one as well while physically reading, and I'm really loving it. So this follows our main character, Lydia, and she is a vampire. She was born to a vampire mother and her father, who was not a vampire to my knowledge. And so she grew up her whole life as a vampire, and we're following her as she is coming of age kind of, and finally stepping away from her mother and exploring life on her own and what it means to be this young woman but also a vampire, and exploring humanity versus her demonic nature, because her mother has drilled into her that the part of her that is a vampire is demonic. And so she's finally away from her mother and starting a life of her own and kind of seeing what that looks like for her. And there is no plot in this novel. It is just this woman's life. We are just seeing her finding her own place and finding an internship and doing all these things for herself for the first time. And that's the plot. There is nothing else. There is no plot really moving anything forward. It is just her day-to-day life. Her mother has some kind of illness or something going on. We're not really entirely sure if it's related to her being a vampire or just her being older. Unclear. But so she is in a nursing home kind of, and so we're seeing what it's like for our main character to have to deal with that, while also kind of resenting her mother a little bit for keeping her so sheltered and making her so afraid of herself in a way. And so we're seeing her out and about on her own for the first time and exploring herself and her own wants and desires. And I'm really enjoying it. The audiobook is so good because the narrator reads it. First of all, she has a British accent, which is really lovely, and she reads it with an air of disconnect and disinterest, which I feel works really well for the story and for this character, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm having a great time with this so far. Like I said, I'm already 50% through. This is only 230 pages, so not very long at all, but I'm having a very great time. It really is just a character exploration, but I'm having a really wonderful time with this so far. It doesn't quite feel 5 stars just yet, but again, I'm only halfway through, so we'll see. I am really enjoying it though. Lydia is a very fascinating character because she's just experiencing a lot of things for the first time in her life. But this is what I'm reading for the cover prompt, and then I have not started Never Fall for a Dragon yet, but I will be doing that. And I think I can probably read that in 1 to 2 sittings, so this will probably be a shorter vlog because I'm only reading 2 things. Already have them both picked out, already started this one, and they're both shorter books. But that is what I will be reading for November Buzzwordathon. happy Sunday and happy last day of November. Last night, as you saw, I did finish Woman Eating, but let me address the elephants in the room first. Yesterday, I went to build a bear, and I did build these 2 bears. So that's Grinch and that's Stella, like a constellation. Cutie, I know. But anyway, I did finish Woman Eating, and I'm thinking it's gonna be like a 3.5 star read for me, because like I enjoyed it. I didn't really have any problems with it, but it didn't like stand out to me. Like, it was good, it did what it set out to do, but I just don't know that it really worked for me. So like I said, this follows Lydia as she is, for the first time in her life, away from her mother and kind of just like figuring out what she wants her life to look like on her own. And I feel like this book ends right as her life is truly beginning, which is a very interesting thing to read, because you spend all this time with her and you like wait for her to come into her own, and as soon as you see that start to happen, the book ends. But I thought it was like really nice because like we see her gaining confidence. We just don't ever get to see her like using that confidence and like what she does from there. But I really enjoyed this. However, there is no plot. Like, we are just following this woman, like, going about her life and like figuring out what she wants from life and what she wants her life to look like and who she wants in her life with her. And so if you need plot in your books, this is not for you, because there truly is no plot. Like, I was thinking, like, how am I going to talk about this without spoiling it? But also, like, there's nothing really to spoil because nothing really happens, right? Because it's just like her life and just like what she's doing in her life. So I could tell you, like, yeah, she like goes out and she does all these things, but like that's what the story is. So I feel like you really just have to read it for yourself. I don't know who's gonna have like strong feelings about this, right? Because it is just so like, here it is. Like, there is not, I don't know how to talk about this book, but it's just very interesting. Like I said, there's really no plot. So if you don't like plotless, character-driven stories, this is not going to be for you. But even if you love a character-driven story, I'm still not sure this is really going to work for you, because I love a character story. I love strong characters. I love strong character development. And I just don't think that this really had that, because like I said, it ends right as her life is beginning. So we don't really get to see what she does with what she's gained, which is very interesting. But I do feel like there's a lot of conversation on food and eating and like the community aspect of food. And after I finished it, I read a lot of reviews, because that's something that I really enjoy doing when I'm done with a book. And a lot of reviewers were talking about how it has like very clear eating disorder depictions, and how Lydia very clearly has an eating disorder, even though that is never like talked about and specified, and like the words eating disorder are never used. But like, that to me that's not how I read this, which I feel like it speaks to like my life experience. That's not how I read it. And I think that's something that's so beautiful about reading, is like 40 people can read the same book and each have like a different takeaway from it, and none of them are particularly right or wrong, because that's like their experience informed their reading of that book. But I really enjoyed this, and there is like, I can definitely see why eating disorder would be the thing that a lot of people latched onto. And like it is, because Lydia's really struggling. Her mom has always told her from the day she was able to like understand that the half of her that is a vampire, because she really sees herself as like split in two, like her human half and her demon half, which is like the vampire half. And so she doesn't feel like she fully belongs to either of those. So she doesn't let herself fully immerse herself in either of those things. And so it's like she doesn't eat human food because her body simply can't process it. But she also doesn't let herself eat or drink blood, because her mom always had her drinking pig blood, because she was like, that's all we deserve. Like, pigs are dirty animals. We don't deserve anything nicer. Like, this is what we deserve. And so she grew up with that, and like that's what she's internalized. And through this book, we see her kind of realize that like she kind of deserves whatever she wants, right? Like, she doesn't necessarily, like, she isn't an evil person just because of her nature. And I feel like that's really what we're establishing here. But also, we see her connection to her cultures through food, and she really likes watching like mukbang content and like what I eat in a day type content, which was a very interesting part of this book. She likes seeing people eat the foods from her cultures, and like that is how she connects to it. So she really sees food as a means of connection to her human side, and as well as her like demonic side. But she doesn't let herself fully immerse in either of those things. So she doesn't eat human food, and she doesn't let herself drink blood. And when she does drink blood, she feels guilty about it, but at the same time, that guilt is only from like what her mother has taught her, not what she's feeling. Because the way that the like blood drinking was done was very interesting, because when she drinks someone's blood, like for instance, she drinks from a duck, she sees that duck's like lifespan. Like, she sees from the eyes of the duck almost. Shower's running now, we're just gonna ignore that. But like, she sees what the duck experienced, and like she then has those memories, which is very interesting. I've never seen that done before. And so, but like, she doesn't feel guilty about it, because she knows like, I have to survive somehow. But when she eats or tries to eat human food, she just feels really awful. And so there's just a lot of interesting things about like food as means of connection, and how she doesn't let herself really experience any connection until the very end of the book, when she does. And I really enjoyed that, and I had a good time with it. But also, it did kind of like drag in the middle, because it's just a lot of her like self-deprecating inner monologue where she doesn't think she's really worthy of anything, and she's like just starving herself of any food and any connection then. And so like I enjoyed it, I just don't think that it was really for me, if that makes sense. Like I read a lot of 5-star reviews of this that really like, and the readers really loved it. It just wasn't for me. Like I did enjoy it and I probably will keep it on my shelves for a little while. I just don't think that it was super strong in like, because we don't really see a whole lot of character development until like the very end, and then the book ends, and like that is what the author wanted to do and she did it well. I just didn't particularly love it. So if this sounds like something you might be into, I would say give it a try, because again, it's only like 230 pages. The audiobook is really fantastic, would highly recommend it. But I did finish that, and you kind of saw my expression when I finished it. It was kind of just like, oh, okay, because the whole time I was reading it, I was wondering like how we're gonna wrap it up, because it's so short that it was like, I don't know, like especially with these types of stories where they're truly just like character explorations and character studies and we're just following the daily life of that character, it's like, unless that character dies at the end, which is not very common, where do we end? And this took a very interesting perspective on that, and I did really enjoy the ending because it really felt like we saw her grow, we saw her come into herself, and now the story ends because that's the story we were following. So I did enjoy that aspect. I just do feel like it dragged in the middle, and it kind of relied a little heavily on like a romantic aspect that I didn't love. I don't know, there was kind of like a lot happening but at the same time nothing happening, so I'm finding it hard to talk about because it's like I don't want to tell you what happens, because like even like the smallest details, because there's no plot, like those could be considered spoilers. I had a fine time with this. I'm glad to have read it, don't get me wrong. And I will be interested in reading more from this author because I really liked her writing. It just was a lot of inner monologue. Like this page kind of, yeah, just a lot of dense inner monologue of her being like, I don't know what I deserve. I've been taught to hate myself or hate this side of myself, but then never given a chance to explore this other side of myself, which was very interesting. And then also she went to art school and she has an internship at like an art gallery. And I really liked those aspects. She had like a creepy like boss guy. And so there were a lot of aspects that I really liked. I just feel like they were kind of overshadowed by the greater themes that I feel like I'm having a hard time grasping, if that makes any sense. But I could talk in circles about this book all day because I really feel like I have a lot of thoughts. None of them just like it's very circular. I could just keep going in circles, like I said, but I will spare you and I will spare myself. So now that I finished that, and because today is the last day of November, I need to read the final book for November, the final book for November Buzzwordathon. And that is going to be Never Fall for a Dragon by Lola Glass. And like I said, all I know about this is that it is a like erotic romance between like a human and a dragon shifter, and they're like stuck in a cave together. And honestly, after like the semester I've had, this is what I want. I want like something super fun and silly and kind of goofy that I can just escape into and have fun with. So that is what I'm really looking forward to. And my library didn't have an ebook or a physical copy of this. They only had the audiobook, which was super interesting. So I will be listening to this solely on audio while I play games on my iPad, because that is what I need to do today. As you can tell, I'm still in my pajamas. I'm ready for cozy, fun, relaxing. I don't want to think about school today. I don't want to think about anything but my silly little dragon romance. So let's get that one started. dark and gloomy now, but I am 50% through. I'm actually 54% through Never Fall for a Dragon. I'm loving it. This is exactly what I needed. So we follow August and Elodie, and August is a dragon shifter, and there aren't that many of them, and like they're very secretive, and Elodie has just kind of gotten out of a very toxic, abusive relationship with a vampire, because in this world there's like all types of like paranormal people. There's like vampires, werewolves, dragons, demons, witches, like we've got everything. But she just got out of a toxic, abusive relationship with a vampire. So she's like not trying to get involved, but she's at a coffee shop and she sees a guy who's like very large arguing with this girl, and she is like immediately like defensive and protective of this girl. So she goes over and she's like, hey, like be nice to her. And the girl's like, oh, you were trying to protect me, like that's so cute, but this is actually my brother. And turns out the girl is a demon and the guy is August the dragon. And as soon as she gets involved, she activates August's dragon mate bond, and so she activates like the flame. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here, but like they are bonded now, and so he has to take her back to his like cabin in the woods, because for the next 4 weeks they are going to just feel like an intense desire for each other, and like they are like she's going to feel physical pain and like this fire flame burning in her veins that can only be solved through physical touch with August. So she's very caught off guard. She's like, I was just trying to do something good, and now here I am bonded to this man when I was not trying to be involved with anyone. So she is very hesitant at first, but like August is like genuinely a good guy, and he's like very respectful of her boundaries, and is like, I will not do anything unless you let me. Like it is physical agony for me not to touch you, but like I respect you, and so I won't touch you if you don't want me to, which love. But she's like, you know, they're gonna talk to the school, and like because she is in college for like computer science or something, and she's like, well, I'm like still enrolled, and he's like, don't worry, us dragons, we got this covered. And she's like, okay. So he's like taking care of that. Evidently the dragons are like super powerful and like very wealthy, so they're taking care of everything for her, and she's like, I get to stay here and have everything catered to me, like kind of having a good time. And it just kind of goes from there, where like when she's away from him, she feels like physical agony, but then like physical touch kind of fixes it. But as time goes on, like it's not enough, and they need more and more to like make that pain go away. But if they end up having sex, then it like solidifies the bond, and they don't want to do that. One, because Elodie doesn't want to be in a relationship, and August is kind of like in trouble with the dragons because he like took in this girl to like raise her as like his little sister, which like goes against like the dragon code, and so he is going to end up in like the dragon like supernatural prison for 6 months. And if they bond, then she has to go into prison with him because they can't separate a mated pair. But like she's a human and she will not survive in this prison, so they're like, under no circumstances are we having sex, we are not like solidifying this bond. So it's going to take 4 weeks for this to either like fizzle out and like they'll go back to normal, or for them to cave in and like the mate bond to like permanently snap into place. So 50% through, they're having a good time, right? I love a romance where I feel like this is why like shifter and like paranormal romance really work for me, because the men with like the mate bond like cater so heavily to the needs of like their woman, and like they just care about her so much and like do anything for her, and like that's what I love to see. I don't want to read a romance where the man is like kind of bad, or he's just like prioritizing himself, which like I get, but that's not what I want to read, right? And so this, where he's like literally like crawling for her, like he would do anything for this woman, love to see it. Like because he's a dragon shifter, we see him like flying with her on his back, and him being like, I never want to fly again without her, because it's like, why would I ever do that when I know how good this is? Like, why would I? And it's just so wonderful. I'm really actually having a very good time. This is exactly what I wanted. It like has me giggling and kicking my feet, but also like gasping at the intensity of the sex scenes, because there are quite a few, because like they have to be having sex, and like they're like constantly turned on from each other because of this like mate bond that they're having, but they also like can't have like actual like penetrative sex because that'll cause the bond to like snap into place. But I'm having a great time with this. It's exactly what I wanted, lighthearted and fun, but also like steamy, and just like it's a very good time, and I'm very excited to keep reading. Last night I finished Never Fall for a Dragon, and I needed to sit with my thoughts for a little while, because up in like the first 50%, so like the first half of the book, I was loving it, giggling, kicking my feet, having a great time, contemplating if I was going to give this book 5 stars. Like I knew I wasn't going to, but like I was having such a good time with it that that's what it felt like. And then the second 50%, which is why I didn't update you at all, I did not like it whatsoever. Like the first 50%, I think it's because we just had our two characters like isolated in their cabin together dealing with like their heat. And then the second half was like, what are we doing? It's like the author knew that there needed to be like something to keep us into it once they got past that situation. And so she like created a conflict that didn't need to be there. And even like in the book, like it just didn't feel like it made sense, and so it really took me out of it, and I was not having a good time. There were so many things that happened that I was like, what are we doing? Also, one thing that really bothered me is that this man refers to Elodie as like her nickname 97% of the time. He calls her Fireball like 9 times out of 10, and it was so annoying. Like he sees her for the first time in like weeks after he's like beaten up, injured, like desperate to see her, and instead of like using her name, he calls her Fireball. I was like, I'm annoyed. This is cringy. I don't like that. And like it was kind of fine when they were like isolated together because then it made more sense. But like after that, I was like, I'm not liking this anymore. Like it just was not doing it for me. And then also there was an epilogue that I felt like I was excited for because it was the wedding. But I was gonna say spoiler alert, but like not really. That's kind of how a lot of romances end. But it had nothing to do with their wedding, and it was solely to set up the next book in the series with the next couple, which like is fine. But it didn't work for me. So again, loved the first half. Second half did not enjoy. So I think I'm going to give this one like 3 stars. And 2.5 of those stars are coming from the first 50% of the book. So I enjoyed it. It did exactly what I needed it to do. It was fun. It was silly. It sucked me in. However, I will say, so many sex scenes. Obviously, like I knew that going into it. And like I wanted something fun. I did not want something that was super serious or like heavy. And this was that. However, because I had it solely as the audiobook, listening to those scenes, horrifying. And I will say, but the 50%, like the first 50%, they couldn't do anything like, you know, this video is crazy. They couldn't do that because of the way like the mate bond worked. And so the way it was being described like wasn't as bad. As soon as the mate bond ended and they were able to fully get it on, hated listening to it. It was awful. I could handle it, like didn't enjoy it, but could handle it for the first 50%. That second half, oh, I was like, I don't want to hear this. Like, this feels wrong. Lately, I've been listening to my audiobooks just like out loud because like my headphones have been hurting my head lately. Because of the weather, I get a lot of headaches, whatever. I haven't been wanting to use my headphones. This, I made sure to bust out the headphones because I was not having this play out loud. So it was a fine time. I might even, if I'm in the mood for something like this in the future, continue on in the series because it was fun. I liked the characters. I liked the world. I just felt like, yeah, that second half of the book just really brought my enjoyment like straight down, like nosedived down. And I have never experienced that in a book before, especially in a romance. And that was just like really odd, I feel like, and really took me out of the story. So I didn't have any thoughts to update you with beyond the 50% because especially in a story like this, once you know what the plot is, there's not really much else to say other than like, I thought the characters were fine. The first 50% loved. So like anything that I say, loved it here, hated it here. But it was fine. It did exactly what I needed to do. It was fun. It was something that I would not have had the time nor the energy to read during my semester. So now that we're in finals week and I just needed something to take my mind off of everything and to like fully escape into, this was perfect because it did not involve any amount of paying attention and I could just fully like kind of zone out while listening to it and color on my iPad and have a great time. So did exactly what I wanted it to do and completed my Buzzwordathon prompt. So with Never Fall for a Dragon and Woman Eating, we have completed November's Buzzwordathon, which means there's only 1 month left to go in this reading challenge. And I have completed every month, both prompts each time. So feeling quite good. And December, this week that we're in, the first week of December is my last week of the semester. So I'm really looking forward to having a lot of free time again, but Buzzwordathon for November is completed, which means this vlog is completed. So thank you so much for being here with me this week. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in another video again soon. Bye!